Going to convene the meeting of the Wednesday meeting of the House Judiciary Committee. This will be our last meeting before crossover, and we have only two items that we've given assurances to the sponsors we would hear them. And we have, first of all, is House Bill 475. Representative Harden, come on forward with us, Ms. Harden, and have a seat and pull the mic down.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We're going to be dealing with 475, which is LC 411132S. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill is I brought in response to some requests from the Secretary of State's office, from Goodwill Industries, and from some of my mayors. Seems to be a problem with the way the act is written on collection bins, and I'm not sure. These are the bins that the charitable organizations put out to get contributions. And what has happened is there are some for-profit people that have gotten involved in this, and mainly that's where most of the problem is coming from. The bill, the act as written now, does not give the Secretary of State's office the basic authority they need to get rid of the bad actors. So what this bill does is to give the Secretary of State the authority to require notarized permission to have those bins placed in the first place, and then also requires a notification to the leaseholders or to the property owners that the bin is going to be placed there, and then allows the Secretary of State to give notice if that bin is to be removed. What has happened, Mr. Chairman, is in many cases, these, in particular in the for-profit people, they will place the bin there and just leave and may not come back and pick up the merchandise that's been contributed for quite some time. They become an eyesore in the community, and this is the reason the mayors were particularly involved in this. But the current law just did not give the Secretary of State the authority they needed to get that out. This law will also give specific ability for the local law enforcement to remove those if they are not properly handled.
It just authorizes if they wish. It doesn't direct them, though.
No, it authorizes if they wish, and if the receptacles are not cleaned up properly and kept in the right shape, then of course notice is given for them to remove. And
what is I'm looking at section 2, which has change here is regarding any willful act, practice, or transaction, issue an order imposing a civil penalty up to a maximum of $2,500 against any person for a single violation. Is that language directed to what we're talking about as far as the failure to remove it, or what is that part addressed?
Well,
do you know?
Any violation, basically, of the inability to get the permission to place it, or to not properly maintain a violation of any of those issues.
All right. Thank you. We got questions from the committee. I believe Mr. Fleming.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Harden, isn't it true that when we discussed this bill in subcommittee, it was a little surprising to me to learn that the Secretary of State already had the authority in our code section to regulate these charitable boxes? And I've experienced this problem in my area and spoke with my Goodwill people, and you actually have for-profit companies that are kind of, to some extent, masquerading as charities, and they're actually selling these excess clothes that they take in. It's a pretty big business, and I think Tennessee, we discovered, and South Carolina and neighboring states have run these folks out with changes to their code, and now they're flooding Georgia is the last place in the area to do this. And when the chairman was talking about the change on page section 2, all that addition there does is add really the word, we concluded in subcommittee on line 81, it was a person. Up there, if you look in 76, on line 76, it talks about a paid solicitor can get that kind of fine. On line 81, it changes it to a person, and that was needed to go after these folks who are, as hard as it is to believe, putting a collection box. In one case in subcommittee, we found out in between a Kroger and a Best Buy, right on the property line, so both Kroger and Best Buy would think the other person had put it out there. Sometimes it ends up being a mess, and then you can't figure out who to get to clean it up, and then, of course, it is somebody else's property, so we need to clarify who can go in there and take care of it.
Yes, thank you.
Good explanation. Do we have any further questions from members of the committee on House Bill 475? We thank you, sir. Anyone in
Thank
the
you, Mr.
audience wish
Chairman.
to address the committee on House Bill 475? No one. We'll close all further public comment, and the bill is now in the breast of the committee. The chair will entertain motions. They have a motion do pass on 475. Second. It's been seconded. Any discussion on the motion? There being none, no amendments to offer, the chair will call the main question. Was a motion do pass on House Bill 475 LC 411132S. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Harden. Next we have is House Bill 496 by Representative Gilligan. You come forward, Ms. Gilligan. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
We're working off LC 411131S.
Yes, sir. So this particular bill started out of a request from Chairman Broadway to the members, to the entities and agencies to find out what kind of revisions needed to be done in our code. And so what we received in Section 1 actually came from GMA. GMA noticed that we were actually pointing to a section of code, that 53-7-91, that is stricken on line 9.
Right.
That code no longer exists. And so we're pointing now to 53-7-40, and what we discovered in the subcommittee is indeed in the comment section on that particular code section, it does talk about the fact that it replaced that 53-7-91. So that was, like I said, from GMA. Then under Section 2 and 3, both of those came from the Department of Public Health. Back in 2011, we'd made some changes that were, of course, through the Department of Community Health, and in accordance with the Governor's Office, we moved from OPM to the Department of Public Health, and somehow we missed in these two sections of code those changes. So that's why we are replacing on line 16 there, you'll say we're changing the name to the proper name.
Okay.
And then in line 22, we strike OPB and replace it with Department of Public Health.
So as I understand, it's really just a cleanup of some language in the current code.
Yes, sir.
Correct some terminology.
Yes,
Any
sir.
questions of Ms. Gilligan? We have no questions, Ms. Gilligan. I think you did a good job explaining your bill.
Thank you, sir.
And do we have anyone else who would like to address the public? Address the committee from the public. If not, we'll close all further public comment. The bill is now in the breast of the committee. The chair will entertain a motion. We have a motion do pass. Is there a second? It's been seconded. Any discussion on the motion? There being none, any amendments? There being none, the chair will call the main question, was to pass to House Bill 496 LC 411131S. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. There is no further business before the committee. We will adjourn, and we'll now have another meeting until next time we have Senate bills. We'll talk to each other a lot.
Practice law.
That's right, practice law, maybe.
You ain't having your